you almost, it just looks like it's a stitch that's just curved and it just keeps on going and it's really smooth. And that's what I'm going for. We'll get there eventually. Hello and welcome to A Rambling Yarn, my new podcast where I talk about knitting, crocheting, other craftsy things, and lots of yarn. I hope everybody is staying safe and feeling healthy and, staying healthy. I hope you feel healthy anyways. And all around just trying to enjoy the time that we now have on our hands at home. I know I have been trying, but my mind's been a little crazy lately. Yesterday I definitely had a bit of a down day. It was, just getting caught up in my mind and really wishing I could get out of the house. We have been preparing for a move on top of that because this transfer season we will be leaving Cape May, New Jersey, which is where I am coming to you today. I've been seeing a lot of people on some of my Facebook sites, pages, about Coast Guard things, saying that their moves have had all sorts of stuff thrown at them. Lots of curveballs, moves being pushed up really early and having to basically pack your stuff in a couple days and get out. And moves that are like, well, you may not be moving. So we'll see. So far ours is on track, which means that we know we're going and we know where we're going to, but we don't know when. Yay! So while I am getting things together and sorted and all of that, I have also been working on a few things. I am still working on my Sanguine sweater by Morthunder. It is, I'd say it's actually almost done. Well, the body of it is almost done. Look at my lovely floats. They're so floaty. If you hear something, my dog is joining me today. I changed locations. I am now in my living room. And she's laying on the couch next to me and she's eyeballing a plate on my table that I had pizza on. She is actually the most polite beggar. She does not just swoop in and take whatever. She sits there and moans and whines very pitifully until you either completely take it away or give in and let her eat the leftovers or lick the plate. So I probably will have to move that at some point. Anyways, here it is. Don't mind the ends that I've got going on. I'd say it's going very well. I am on my very last section, I think, before I start the ribbing for the torso. I am very excited. Let's see. Here's where I am, at the bottom. So I'm now in this white section. I'm supposed to do about 5 rows, I think. And that will get me more or less to where I need to be. And I think it's kind of a tweed. It's I don't know if I would classify it as teal because it's kind of dark. But it's also a tweedy color. And that's what I'm going to be using for my ribbing at the bottom of my sweater. So I'll probably finish up my rows here. It's like an oatmeal-y white. It's this color, this white color. So I'll finish up those 5 rows, and then I'll probably take the dark green blue. I should just look at, I don't have the ball band with me, or else I would give you the color of that. But I'll take that color and then maybe do 1 or 2 rows if I need just a little bit more length, and then start the ribbing. I usually, if I in the past have done something that involves having, you know, a cuff or whatever that's ribbed and it's in a contrasting color, I usually do at least 1 just stockinette or whatever row, whatever, if there's a certain different stitch pattern that it's in, I'll usually do at least 1 row in that pattern, in the contrasting binding color, so that it just flows. Because I made that mistake when I made my last sweater. I wouldn't say mistake, but you can see the parts, because it was just in a stockinette. You can see where it picked up the pearls for the ribbing, and that's not a bad thing. I actually like it, but to make it a smoother transition, I'm going to change color before I do that. I've really been loving this pattern. It really is just a joy to knit. It makes me very happy. It's so colorful, and I look forward to stealing this from my husband once it's done. I would say this is only the 2nd sweater that I have ever knit. And I would say that if you are an adventurous beginner, it's a very easy pattern to follow. The color work's laid out very clearly. Everything else it's not crazy. So if you have started knitting and you're looking for a larger pattern to try, or a first garment, I would say go for it. I did not spend a ton of money. I mentioned this in my last episode. I'm just using a very budget-friendly yarn. It's from Hobby Lobby. It's just acrylic. I went over this because it's for my husband, who doesn't really know how to take care of the more expensive fibers. So I'm playing it safe, which I'm pretty sure was the best call. So that's where I am with that. I'm very pleased with it, and I'm very happy, and I don't think I will be stuck on Sleep Island, since the color work really, it makes it so enjoyable that you're done with a little section before you realize it. So that's my sweater, and maybe next time I will have it bound off on the torso and a sleeve. If not finished, at least started. I have jumped back into crocheting. I was kind of out of it for a little while because I had some other projects that I was working on and other things going on. But I'm back at it, and I'm really happy, and I'm going to actually show you. I was making something for my mom. Little backstory. I had actually made her this really cute cardigan for Christmas. The problem is she does not live in the same state. She is much smaller than me. She's a very petite lady. And because of that, I was definitely guesstimating on not the gauge, but the size to make for her. And I guess she must be smaller than she is in my head, because it was very small in her. But I didn't have the ability to, you know, every couple of weeks or whatever say, here, can you try this on? Also, it was a present, so I was kind of keeping it under wraps. So it didn't work out, unfortunately. The pattern was going to be the Manoa Cardi by Bella's Custom Crochets, which is a beautiful lacy crocheted pattern. It's open, it's flowy, it's gorgeous. It's got 3/4 length sleeves, and it's gonna be made at some point because I adore it and I love cardigans and I love to crochet. It just unfortunately didn't work out with my model being nowhere close to me. So instead, I brought it up over Christmas. We were able to visit with my whole family, and I did have her try it on, which is when I found out that it did not fit. And I told her I could make adjustments and I could do this and that and fix it if she really wanted. And she was originally going to do that. And then right before I left, she actually, I found out, had been eyeballing a scarf that I had crocheted for myself. I didn't follow any particular pattern. It was just one of those really big asymmetric triangles that everyone's kind of doing right now, in also an open-ish pattern. With a bunch of stripes. Self-striping yarn. I think it was Premier. I got it at Joann's. I'll put it on, but I'll probably take it off soon because I will be too hot leaving it on. Anyway, she saw this and she really liked it. I can't blame her. I really like it too. And she asked if maybe the cardigan could be put on hold and made another time for her, because she did like that too. But with the colors that I had chosen, she really wanted to see them in a scarf. So I told her that that was absolutely no problem, and I would be more than happy to start that up. So I grabbed, my husband, who views tech items as toys, after I made my last episode, went out and bought a monitor for our camera because apparently that was a really good excuse. So I've never worked with one before, and now that I have it, I have to tell myself to actually look at the camera and not the screen, because I'm used to looking at the screen. So if my eyes wander up, that's where I'm looking. But I am using a trusty Susan Bates. It's a 5.5 millimeter, which is a US, I can't read that, 9I. It's a 5.5 millimeter needle. I have a really hard time using other needles. I like how pointed the tip is. I think it's easier. It's easier than a rounded tip for me. It's easier to get through your chains and all of that. And I have a hard time holding the chunkier sized fancy crochet hooks. Granted, I haven't had a lot of experience and practice with them, but when I do hold them, I just want them because they're pretty, but I don't think I would be able to actually use them. So we're gonna stick with the classics. So this is the yarn. This is it's 100% cotton. It's got kind of a charcoaly black and a gray, and this really pretty kind of maroony color, and a lighter pink. It's just got just the spore. So I have not made much progress on it, unfortunately. I'm sorry, Mom, because I've been trying to work really hard on my socks. I am still enjoying the socks, but they're kind of taking up a lot of space in my brain. So just want to show you. It is very pretty. It's very simple. It's very flowy. And because this is cotton, this will probably be really nice to wear in the summer because it won't be super hot, especially if you go to a lot of places that have air conditioning, or she works in their church office, and she's a cold lady anyway, so she's always cold, but especially in the summer with air conditioning going, she's chilly. So that is that. That's a lot of fun. See, I said it was 100% cotton. It was in a cake from Hobby Lobby. I believe those specific cakes are called Sugar Wheel. And they have a lot of really pretty colors. Very efficient for the yardage and the money, which is really nice when you're working on big projects like that. All of them are like the self-blocking color-wise, and it's fun. This, because of the way it had been made up into a cardigan beforehand, is now in a bunch of balls in varying colors, so I will be kind of stitching those together as we go, and it won't look like it just came out of a cake. It'll be a little bit more different, but I think that will kind of add character, which I'm all about. So socks, onto socks. So I started my April socks. I got off on the wrong foot multiple times. I started using the size 1 needles that my little brother had gotten me for Christmas, which are the smallest needles I have ever tried to hold. I am using, this is a colorway by Rose Hill Yarns. I showed it's a little messy because it's been sitting in my bag. It's been used, obviously, because I have half of the sock done. And it is really fun the way that it is working up. They're not quite micro stripes because it's so variegated, but it's always really fun for me when I see like a solid row. It's getting really hot. Of a stripe almost completely. That's always really fun. Let me grab. She doesn't do ball bands, as far as I know. Instead, she does these cute little tags. Very cute. Rose Hill Yarns. This colorway is called, I apologize to every Canadian out there ever in the history of all Canadians and all Canadians to come. Okanagan Summer. I'm from Connecticut. I'm really sorry. But I actually really enjoy the fact that she does the tags, because with all the little ends that you snip off or untie from the hank when you wind it, I was able to make this, it's almost bookmarky. And that way, I don't know, it's just fun. I just enjoy it. Anyways, but because it's, I would say, more of a light fingering yarn, I use the smaller needles. And so it took me a while to get the gauge and to figure out, I knit really tightly, so to figure out a way to do the cuff without it cutting off circulation in my calves. Apparently, all those years of dancing that I did, my calves never went back to being normal sized. But that's okay. And so after about the 6th time of attempting to get the correct number of stitches, because I really dislike swatching for socks, really, I also realized that I would need like 68 stitches for my cuff and then drop down to 60 for the leg and the foot. And then I decided that I was just going to screw it, pardon my language, and start toe up. So that's what I did. I found on YouTube a tutorial for, I believe it's called the Turkish Cast on, which was really, I had tried it before and I actually watched somebody else's tutorial and it seemed, it wasn't, you really had to pay attention. Not that you shouldn't pay attention when you're knitting or crafting anything in general, but since it's not something that I have ever used before, that particular tutorial made it feel rather complicated. But this one, who I know she's well known in the knitting community for her patterns. I think she lives in Maine. I want to say her name is Andrea. And that's all I'm going to say because I don't want to say something that's wrong. But her tutorial was really straightforward. It was very easy, very simple, and it wasn't scary. So if you, I'll post her Instagram name and you can look her up from there. But it's the Turkish Cast on for toe up socks. So I did that. I think I cast on about 15. I should have done 14, but I wasn't thinking. All I was thinking was, 15 is half of 30. But 15 is an odd number, so there was one round where I only increased once on both sides of the toe. But it is working up really pretty. I'm really enjoying this. I did a fish lips kiss heel. Actually tried this. Yeah, that's the side that looks nice. I decided that's the side that I will be like pulling together. I decided not to do it quite the way that the pattern did because people are probably going to hate me for saying this. I hate how the pattern is written. It is so stinking wordy. It's got so much good information in there, but the thing is like 20 pages long or something crazy. And I'm rather new to short rows, but the twin stitch whatever that is in that particular pattern, I really don't like. I am very clumsy doing it. It causes more frustration than I think it's worth. The heel is great. I love the heel, and the math in the pattern makes complete sense. It's just a lot to read through. A lot to read through. So I substituted in German short rows. I'm actually thinking this side, that's like a little funky. I'm pretty sure was my... Yeah, it would have been the side that I purled the German short rows on. Nope. Turn. No, that would have been the side that I brought a knitted stitch over. So I think if I do it again, because who's going to stop me? I will probably do one side with the wrap and turns and the other side, or maybe both sides with wrap and turns. But one side with a wrap and turn and the other side with a German short row. Because when you're looking at the side, that's actually like nice. I don't know if you can see, but it is, you almost it just looks like it's a stitch that's just curved, and it just keeps on going, and it's really smooth. And that's what I'm going for. We'll get there eventually. It's a work in progress. I'm a work in progress. I still have a lot of stuff to learn. Actually, well, yes, I do have a lot of stuff to learn. I'm not debating that fact. But it made me think of when I was in school. One of my teachers once said something that has stuck with me, and it's been 10 years since. And I believe he said something along the lines of, the moment that you think that you know everything and you no longer need to learn anything because you know it all, that's the moment you need to put down your tools and walk away, because from that moment, you're never going to grow in your craft. You're leaving no room for growth. And that blew my mind at the time, still does, because I do see a lot of people who either they're scared to change, or they really do think that they know the best way to do it, and they don't want to keep their brains open for trying new things. Try new things. Even if you think your way is better, you may be surprised. I've been surprised in many things that I thought I was really great at, and then someone showed me something new. Doesn't hurt. Anyways, that's kind of how I feel with this. I'm just gonna try different things until I find what really does work for me. I know those TSPs do not work for me. But I figured I've only done the fish lips kiss one other time, and it also came out really well. It's actually one of my favorite pairs of socks so far. So I figured I would try it again. We'll do something different every time. It'll be good. So those are my socks. Haven't finished it yet, but we still got time, and it is April, right, guys? We still have some time. The last work in progress that I have for you is a little baby blanket. They are one of my favorite things to make. I love making baby blankets. They are fast. It's easy. If you don't have a pattern, which a lot of the times I don't use a pattern for baby blankets, it's easy to use it kind of as a way to practice new stitches. And I luckily had an excuse. A couple in the neighborhood, one of them is a coworker with my husband on the boat. They, over the past month or two, right at the beginning of all of this craziness, they welcomed twins, which is really exciting. They brought a boy and a girl into this world, and so I get to make a blanket. I am picking up my crochet hook, and again, I'm just using I Love This Yarn acrylic yarn from Hobby Lobby, because they're babies and they get messy, and no frustrated new parent wants to be like, oh no, I gotta hand wash this with special bowl soap and lay it flat to dry, or make sure my dogs don't eat it. I know some dogs go after natural fibers, so we're gonna avoid this. So I'm not using a pattern, I'm just kind of making it up. It's got this closed, it's a closed stitch. I will look up in my book, my handy dandy notebook. Can you tell I have children? My handy dandy notebook, what this is called. But this is really fun. I'm really digging the fact that it's got a pattern, it's got a texture, but it's also simple. And then I'm using, I don't know if you can tell, but this is a mini bean stitch, which I will be striping throughout the pattern. I love this stitch. I actually, back in, I think in July, I had made a whole blanket out of this really pretty DK weight cotton yarn for another one of our friends who had had a baby recently. And it was really fun to work with. It was the first time that I'd ever used that stitch, and I was very pleasantly surprised, and I probably will make that same blanket a few more times because it was really fun. I will try to remember to put in pictures of that because I didn't get very many around here. I actually just recently, finally, now that her kid is like 9 or 10 months old, gave it to her. This is a friend of ours that we actually lived with in North Carolina. They were stationed in the same place that we were, and that's where we met them, and we became very good friends, and she helped us a lot with our move. And when we found out that they were also going to be stationed here, we were so ecstatic. We thought we were going to be able to see each other a little bit more, but unfortunately lives are busy and kids keep you busy. But we have managed to hang out a little bit. So she stopped by on her way home from work the other day, and I finally tossed it off to her in a very socially distanced fashion while saying our I miss yous. So it's finally been gifted, and that makes me very happy. It was very sweet blanket. 10 out of 10 would make again. I really liked it. So that was my introduction to the mini bean stitch, and obviously I liked it enough that I was going to incorporate it in this. And if it's a stitch that you are interested in or also enjoy, my friend Bella at Bella's Custom Crochets actually released not that long ago a cowl pattern that uses it, and is a very, very neat pattern, and I would encourage you to look that up. I talked about it in my last episode. The One Skein Wonder. So I wish I had more in the ways of half objects, but the closest to a half finished object I have is my sweater because it's almost halfway through. So since that's all I had, I'm going to skip right on over to finished objects. Now, between now and the last time that I recorded, I did finish that hat that I made for my grandmother. Unfortunately, I was so excited about it that I just shipped it out right away without taking pictures. Didn't think about that. But you saw most of it in my last one. And if you want to see what that pattern looks like, just look up the Taryn Beanie by Blue Daffodil Crafts. I'm sure if you search the hashtag on the grams, it will show up with lots of really neat different colorways and stuff. And maybe I will get my cute grandmother to take a picture of herself in the hat, and I can show you later. The other thing that I have finished that I was working on last time were the Simple Skip Socks by Adrienne. And here they are. This, I did not do a fancy fish lips kiss heel. This one I just did the simple slip stitch heel. I used size 2s. I'm pretty sure I did 56 stitches. And these were really fun. I can't tell you what the yarn is. All I know is it's the yarn that I used for my first ever pair of socks. And I'm going to assume that it was mainly wool. that was not supposed to be washed or dried at all, because those got felted. Not by me, and nobody has fessed up to it yet. And I'm still a little bit salty. But I was very pleasantly surprised to find a whole, actually I probably could make another pair of these. That much still hiding in my stash after probably about 15 years. So this, it's got, don't focus on my face. It's ribbed all the way down. And it's got like a twisted stitch running up. So these are very fun. And they're a little fuzzy right now because I cannot make myself finish the socks, block them, and put them away in a box for the rest of the year. I really enjoy wearing the socks that I work really hard on. So these have been worn a couple of times. They were very fun to make, I will say that. And they are on these lovely sock blockers. I will post her Etsy shop in the description because she's Polish and I'm going to butcher her name if I attempt to pronounce it. And I don't want to do that because she's a very nice lady. She makes these. They are beautiful. She's got all sorts of different patterns and she can customize them. I know that these are flowers, but when I just look at it from a distance, for some reason, the pattern actually reminds me of pictures of coffee plants with their really pretty kind of red berries. And that's why I got this pattern. They're very pretty. Honestly, I would be happy even if I never used these and just like hung them on my wall because they're just really pretty. That's really all that I have for what I'm working on and have worked on and have finished. I do want to say really quick, if you are a crocheter and if you're beginning or you just really like having references, this is a really great book. It's got so much in there. Crochet Every Way Stitch Dictionary. This is actually where I found, do I have it marked? Where I found the stitch that I am using for the baby blanket. The closed stitch that I'm using. Please hold. Should have marked the page, but did I? No, I did not. I don't know if this is what it's actually called, but it says surface tension. I don't know if that's, but it is very fun. It's got double crochets, and if you're a fan of the seed stitch, that's kind of thrown in there. But this has 125 different stitches. So even if you are very good at crochet and you've been doing it for a really long time, just to look through and kind of get inspiration. Because sometimes just seeing things can help an idea pop out of your brain a little bit more if you're stuck on something. All the colors that she uses for all of her swatches are really cool. The pictures are great. The instructions are super clear. And I would highly recommend it if you have a little library going of crochet and knit books, whether it's patterns or just stitch dictionaries or just like pretty coffee table books. I highly recommend adding this to your library. And now, let's see what I added to my stashed positions. That is a fun word to say. No, it's not. So not this past Saturday, but the Saturday before, which I don't remember what day that was because they're all the same now. Fiber for the People had an update, and I told myself that I wasn't going to do anything because I'm trying to be good, but I did a thing. I actually, a lot of the times, if there's not colorways that she has that jump out at me and like make my heart pound, I still stock the updates, but I usually wait a few hours because things do go really fast, and then that way I'm not tempted to just fill my cart with lots of yarn that I have no plans for, that I just want to look at, because it's an investment. So I gotta be smart about it. So when it's an update like that, not that this was, there were a lot of things that I would have wanted to come away with, but again, trying to be a thrifty lady, because usually that is me. So I kind of stalk it like a vulture. I wait and I hover and I see what's left for the pickin'. And there were just a couple things left, and this is what I found. So I have, this is her colorway Claret, or Claret, I'm pretty sure it's, I think I've heard her say Claret. But it is this very, very deep, dark, it's purple, but it's maroony and brown with little light patches that shine through. I snagged some fingering weight. This is 4-ply, which will be fun. It's got, I believe the word that they use is tooth. It's got a nice tooth to it, which I really enjoy. I do like really soft yarns, and maybe I'm a little weird, but I really like when it's got that rustic feel. So I snagged some 4-ply sock yarn in that colorway. And then I also, in the same colorway, got myself some Superwash Sports Weight, which is just 100% extra fine merino in a 3-ply. And it's also gorgeous. And because I had to justify this to myself, I decided that obviously the sock weight yarn, well, I guess not obviously, I could do so much with it, but the sock weight is most likely going to be socks. There are a couple other things that I'm thinking about with them, but the sport weight, I was actually thinking about making mittens, because I don't really have mittens. Instead of buying them, I would prefer to make them myself because I can really customize the fit, and I enjoy making mittens. Actually, when I first started knitting, mostly I made mittens and fingerless gloves. Those were my favorite things because they're super simple and very satisfying because they knit up really quickly. And I decided that that's really what I needed. I needed these, especially because this winter we are going to be back in New England. Very northern New England. So, mittens. And if I have some of this left over from my mittens, which won't be that big, I don't have big hands, I might make some for my kiddos. So that's all I have as far as yarn stash goes. The other thing I have, which is crafty related, I splurged and bought myself some really adorable stickers from the lovely Sarah May, who owns Block 21 Prints. I met her over the summer. I went to a fair, not a fair, but she was there with Bella, and we were there to support Bella, and they had their booths right next to each other, and I had been following her on Instagram for a while. She carves her own stamps, and she uses them on clothing, and then she also takes the same designs for her stamps and makes them into stickers, which is what I got. Just a little happiness, some happy stickers. So I got this, which is beautiful. I have a shirt from her that says this is create because you have to. It's your calling. You have a message. It's your therapy. It's where you feel at home. It's who you are. You are sharing a part of you. It makes you happy. Which it does. Her designs also make me very happy. So I got that one. I got this one. Buy handmade, make an artist happy. Which is adorable. And then I got this one because it's my home state and I love it. And there's a little whale because for some reason our hockey team is the Connecticut Whale. It used to be the Whalers, which I thought was kind of cool, but apparently that was too inhumane for a hockey team name. So now it's the Connecticut Whale. But it does lend itself very well to this design. So those are the three that I got, and then she threw in a couple extra because she's lovely. This is her logo. I think this is stamped on the back of a lot of her stuff. And this really cute one, little koala, says be a good friend. And I'm actually thinking, I think I know what I'm going to do this. This is always my problem. I buy the cute stickers and then I don't really know where to put them because they're adorable. And I stress over putting them in the wrong spot. But this one, I know, I actually recently bought a couple of notebooks for the purpose of writing down funny phrases and words that my little guys say and weird things that they do, so that as they get older and as my husband and I get older, we can look back on how it's changed, how they've grown, and all the really silly things that little kids say. For instance, wowee, which is something that we are hearing a lot of in our house, and I love it. This is her business card. So if you are in the market for really cool artisan shirts and sweatshirts, among other things, go check her out. If you follow her on Instagram, every once in a while she actually posts videos of her actually carving the stamps, which I find mesmerizing, and I could probably watch for hours. and it makes me want to try it, but maybe someday. Maybe someday. And that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for hanging in there. Thanks for coming back if you watched my last episode. I hope you all have a good week. Hope you remember what day it is. And I hope to see you next time. Thanks for watching. Now I have to turn it off.